How,
Hi, how
what's
you
going
going,
on?
Anton?
It's been so long since we were going to connect.
I know,
Good to
I know,
connect
it's been
finally.
ages.
So talk
Yeah.
me through it, girl. Tell me, how the heck did you get into styling? Becoming a stylist?
Styling, long story actually.
Right.
I started my career in hospitality.
Oh, right.
So went off to do a degree in hotel management. Um, and then from there went and worked in the hotel industry, went on to work in the airline industry, largely in a sales capacity. So, and then from the airline industry went into corporate and was, managing some multinational accounts and pulling together, company accounts from all over the world, which was really amazing. It was very results driven. So I was all into that. And then I started a family, which was sort of not planned.
Oh,
so,
okay.
so that just, put me into motherhood space, which was somewhat something that I was sort of really not prepared for. So I thought,
Oh,
well, how do I do this when, you come out of something that's so fiercely results driven into, looking after, a baby. So I started to think about how can I do something which is going to take me through this whole period. So having a very creative mother and coming from a entrepreneurial family, I started, looking at how I can put something together for myself. And I was invited to come in and speak to the girls' school, which I went to. I went to a private girls' school here in Melbourne on professional readiness for the Year 10 girls. And that really started this whole journey because I really enjoyed being able to give and share back and, impart my knowledge to these girls. And so that continued on. I spoke to several different girls' schools and I started doing some makeup, which comes from my mother's creative side. And I thought, gosh, what am I doing? I really have to try and find out what this is that I'm doing. And it was at the time when Google was only really just starting up. So jumped on there and tried to find out what it was I was doing and found out that image consulting was actually a profession.
was the
And there was an international organisation, several actually. So I thought, well, how can I find out more about this? Where can I train? So there were a couple of trainers here in Melbourne, which I went and interviewed. And I went down, and that's history. So I'm now fairly highly accredited within that global organisation, and I take it pretty seriously. So I've worked with corporates, individuals, celebrities, not-for-profits, um, yeah, and mostly now CEO women because during that whole process, Anton, I've aged.
well, I wouldn't have known, Julie. I wouldn't
The
have known.
people that I work with have aged. They've gone on their own journey as well. And so it's a really good marriage and meeting of minds where they're really fabulous at what they do and experts at what they do. And I have this little piece of knowledge that they really need to tap into and can get enormous value from. And it builds their confidence in their personal brand. So it just really works. And I'm so, it's amazing to be able to be in the presence of some of these women because they are so influential and so intelligent
Wow.
and fabulous.
Wow. That's a
Mm.
beautiful thing to say. And
So
I think,
that's how it all started in a nutshell. But lots and lots of trials and tribulations along the way. I bought into a beauty clinic and rebranded that several times. So I was running a whole image beauty salon type business. Worked in conjunction with a hair salon downstairs. So we're doing the whole upstairs, downstairs
mm,
thing. Learned how to do my own email marketing. Remember when MailChimp came out?
mm,
It took me a
mm.
whole day to learn how to send out an email, on MailChimp. So, yeah, incredible learnings, incredible journey,
Good on you.
but really rewarding.
And I've been following your work for probably coming up to 12 months, which is really, really
Mm.
cool. So we've been connected for a little while now. And obviously, I love the work that you do with the female CEOs. And I reached out one day and I said, look, is there anything that, and you said, I think, yes, you do work with males. And my sort of question was, well, what do us males who want to actually look okay as well, even though it's hard for some of us,
Mm.
um, what do we need to sort of be thinking about, and what's the plan, or what are the big ticket items that sort of men could be thinking about?
Well, look, I always operate on, in terms of three things. It's being appropriate to yourself and really understanding who you are as a person. And that means, you know, how old are you? What's your body shape? What's your personality? What space do you work in? And then thinking about, well, what's appropriate for you based on all of that? What's appropriate for, you know, the role that you're in? What's appropriate for the people that you're going to meet? And what's the objective that you actually want to achieve? So once you can get really clear on all of that, then we can think about, well, what is your personal brand? What's the image that you want to put across to other people? How do you want other people to perceive you? And once we get clear on that, then we can break it down even further and say, okay, well, let's have a look. What does this look like for you as an individual? From a style perspective, from a colour perspective. We look at contrast of colour, whether you wear patterns, you know, what message is that putting across to other people? Should you wear a jacket? Should you not wear a jacket? Should you wear a tie? Should you not wear a tie? What sort of accessories are you wearing? So all of the things that help formulate and create your visual message across to other people, which should all be aligned then with your non-verbal message.
Right. So can we unpack each of those just for a few minutes each? Is that okay?
Sure. Ask me a question. What would you like to know?
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. So with the appropriateness, I love that. I love that word appropriate. So, and you said based on your role, based on what you're trying to achieve, based on, I guess, where you're going. So for someone like me who works with sort of similar people that you do at, you know, that upper level of the business, so through the CEO level, in boardrooms, I guess, is there an appropriate standard these days? Like I see some people funkying it up these days, whereas I still see the suit and tie. Like, what you know, what is appropriate these days, say in the boardroom?
Very good question. Very good question. And it's one that I get asked of a lot, and it's one that confuses a lot of people a lot. And I guess when you think of what type of boardroom are you going into? What industry is it in? What type of company is it in? What other people are on that board?
Okay.
Is it male dominated? Is it diverse? Right. So all of those factors now come into play. And I guess at the end of the day, I say, well, it's all about having respect. It's having respect for the other people. And it's presenting yourself in a way which is going to get you the attention that you want. Because let me take colour as an example, okay? Now, colour has lots of psychological meanings, and it can be very powerful, it can be very subliminal.
Right.
So depending on the colour you wear, the contrast level it creates up against your face can have a really big impact as to whether people actually even notice you when you walk in the room. And then the actual colour itself can put across a meaning of sophistication or of aggression or of excitement or energy. So when I style my clients, I'm thinking about all of these things in terms of not only who are they meeting that day, but what's the message, what's the impact that we want them to have when they go into that boardroom.
So can I ask you a very specific question? What does green mean?
Green is often one of, you know, it's money, right? Green is money. So it also can be fresh, you know, and then there's different shades of green, and different shades of green can also have different meanings.
Right.
So
I think I've probably got all of
them going on there. You know, when you look on a colour wheel, there's warm, cool, and there's various different tones of colours and mutedness of colours, and they all have different meanings, and it's all very relevant to an individual based on their personal colourings too.
Right.
What shade is going to be most appropriate for them, which is going to marry in with their overall look. The last thing you want is to walk into a room and someone to see the colour walk into the room or the garment walk hair is actually wearing it. That's the last thing you want. So
So
it all has to blend in.
can you just say that again, if that's okay? Because there's a bit of gold in that. So you're saying that when you walk into a room, you don't want people to notice the colour more than the person. Is
You
that?
don't want them to notice what it is you're wearing as opposed to the overall look and presence.
So it's a look and presence rather than a garment that we're trying to.
Absolutely. The garment's a secondary thing.
Right.
It's the overall presence that you're creating by what you're wearing. And that has to all marry in with you as a person based on physicality, or, you know, where you're at emotionally, your position, everything else.
Right.
So there's a lot of psychology that goes into what I do.
I'm spun out already. I know. There's too much to think about already. So, and all we really touched on there was the.
And so that's the power. It's okay to get dressed. Yeah. It's easy for someone to throw on some clothes in the morning and get dressed. But it's about the meaning, the intention behind what you're putting on and how that's going to help you achieve what it is you want to achieve that day, based on where you're going, who you're meeting, etc., etc.
It's a good question to have on your. That's a good question to have on your bathroom mirror. What's my intention today with my dress, or something like that?
Exactly. That's good.
I did have a CEO one day ask me if I dressed myself because I had I think I had these duds on.
Oh my God! You're a kaleidoscope.
with a blue tie.
Well, that's a very, blue and red are opposites, right? So they really powerful together. Yes.
Oh, good. He didn't think so much. Thank you for that. Now, in relation to you, so the first thing was appropriate. The second thing was image, and the third thing was, I wrote the words look like. Before we get there, though, I'll ask you to clarify that. When you say image, how is that different to appropriateness, and what's the intent?
So when I say image is all about it's appropriate to you, appropriate to the situation, appropriate for the people you're going to meet. Right. And then thinking about what's the objective, what do you actually want to achieve? Right. So, you break all of those down. Appropriate for you, does it suit you based on your height, weight, shape?
Okay. Gotcha.
Appropriate for the people you're meeting, is it appropriate for the situation?
Mm-hmm.
It's a boardroom situation, you're meeting the media, who are the people that you're meeting? You don't want to go into a boardroom where they're all dressed down and they're all in jeans and T-shirts, which can happen in some boardrooms, right? Going all suited up, because instantly you're going to alienate yourself because you're not like them. People want to feel like they can know, like, and trust you in an instant. So you have to be like them, okay? And then what's the objective that you want to achieve? Are you pitching for a deal? Well, that might change the whole nature of the way you present. For example, I had a young client earlier this year who was in her mid-30s, and she was doing a lot of boardroom presentations, and she was just missing out on some of them, and she felt like she wasn't being heard properly. And the reason we broke it all down is because the way she was presenting was not at the same level as the people she was actually pitching to, due to, the value of her pitch was she was not dressing to the same value. And so this was all about taking her dressing up to a new level, which actually matched the value of the offer she was making to those companies.
Wow.
And she's just skyrocketed, because what that did to her as well was just give her enormous confidence, because she felt like she looked the part. It married into her value proposition and what she was actually putting on the table.
Wow, good on you. That must feel good.
Powerful.
Very powerful.
Very powerful.
like I look at someone like Gary Vee talking about dressing up or dressing down, like Gary Vaynerchuk, like he's got a beanie and
He's amazing.
yeah, so he just doesn't really seem to care what he looks like. I'm sure he does.
And there's lots of people like Gary Vee out there who have created their own space by their own level of expertise and passion and everything else, and they are brands themselves. So it won't matter what Gary Vee puts on, basically, because he's there. Okay, so there are exceptions to the rule where people just have enormous talent and unquestionable expertise and knowledge in a certain field, which no one can ever challenge. They have no competition, basically, so they can be their own brand.
Right.
But when you consider everyone else that's out there trying to create their space and get heard and recognised for what it is they're doing, every little bit counts in terms of, well, how am I going to, elevate myself, against the next person? What is it that's going to give me that point of difference? If they've examined everything else, excuse me, and their CV is perfect, they've got the runs on the board in terms of their professional development, the courses they've got, and everything else, and they're still not getting to where they want to get. Have they checked out how they dress? And it's usually often the last thing, and all of a sudden the penny will drop and they'll think, oh, well, maybe I need to do something about my appearance. Maybe I need to do something about how I dress. Maybe that's the clincher. Maybe that's something that will really help me get over the line.
Good on you, Julie. And I love that. And like I've got two boys now who are trying to, well, one's a real estate agent, so he dresses well, and one's a computer programmer, and he's just got his first job in computer programming. And of course, I encourage them to dress up rather than down, rightly or wrongly. And Toby, particularly the computer guy, said that the business that he's going to work for, the only dress rule they've got is no shorts, so they're pretty casual. They're sort of going to be there in sneakers and probably an old pair of ratty jeans or something. And he says he's cool with that. And I said, well, whatever their dress code is, you just, make sure you comply with that. I do say to him, well, there's no reason why you can't look good, especially in the early days, to make a good impression. So you're right, and I always tell job interviewers to dress up rather than dress down, because I think even if you turn up for a job interview where the interviewers aren't as well dressed as you, I still think that is the right first impression to make. Would that be a fair call?
Look, it is a fair call, but there's also a lot to be said about doing your due diligence and really trying to explore more about the company. If you are going into an interview situation, what's the company all about? What are the values of the company? Who is it that is likely to be interviewing you? Do some research on that person. What they're all about. How do they dress? How does the environment in the actual company look like? Do they have a dress code? Look like fit in when you go for that interview. Because, again, you can dress up, and I'll always say, it's better to be dressed better than, worse. Yeah. However, you can alienate yourself even by walking in and looking like you're not going to be a good cultural fit for an organisation based on that.
It's a good call.
So, again, there's a lot of homework that can be done to really hone in on this and get this right. But at the end of the day, yes, good grooming, I think, is essential, irrespective of you're going in a pair of jeans and a T-shirt, or whether you're going in with just a jacket on, or for a woman particularly, go the extra distance. Make sure you're groomed well. Have a little bit of makeup on. Look like you're polished, even though you might be dressed down for a situation, because no one wants to, I shouldn't say that, but, there's a difference between looking at someone that's actually respected themselves and taken time to, be well groomed, as opposed to someone who isn't. So, and unfortunately, we are very much influenced by society, by our cultural backgrounds, by the way we've been. We're so conditioned, and whilst we're in a world of diversity and inclusion where it shouldn't matter how people show up. It does. At the end of the day, it does.
Well said, Julie, because we've sort of, and we won't touch on it too much today, we've sort of jumped out of the space of dressing to grooming, and I guess they are interlinked, though and I can only speak from a male perspective, like I notice males that don't shave because I just think that's such a poor image, and that's just me, even though they say that 3-day growth is actually quite acceptable. It's quite acceptable and trendy, maybe even sexy to a degree or whatever. Whereas to me, I think it's lazy. And so to me, this is grooming and this is sort of dressing. What's your take on that?
Well, it's how you feel about yourself, Anton, you know, and it's your own personal self-esteem and how you want to present yourself to the world. So if you want to present yourself to the world as being, you know, clean shaven, you know, clean, tidy, everything else, then that's you. Whereas, again, it all gets back to, you know, how you want other people to perceive you and your own personal values too, in terms of what feels right to you.
Okay.
See, I wouldn't ever sit down at my desk unless I've had to do a few things before I walk the dog in the morning, you know, without dressing for work. Even though I went down today because I'm at my desk and I've got heaps of things to do at my desk today. You know, it's all about, well, you know, when I go for a wander down to make a cup of coffee this morning and I go to a window or mirror or something, you know, I want to look in there and think, well, yeah, I'm actually speaking my truth and I'm who I say I am. And, you know, if someone rings me up at a moment's notice and wants to do a Zoom call,
absolutely,
I'm okay.
And can I tell you, I'm just in the office. Well, we've sort of got a studio and then we've got an office. This is the way that I just get it dressed up every day. And I'm only got meetings all day, just online. And
that puts you in the zone. That puts you in the zone of business. I'm thinking business. I can talk what it is I want to talk about. I feel comfortable like this, and this is who I am. And that's how I want my brand represented to other people when I speak to them online. And the whole online world is another thing. We talk about executive presence. It's not just about you physically. It's also about how you present online to people. Because so much of the business world is online now. When you think of all the meetings that are being facilitated here and overseas, and you know, different times of the day and the night, and people are just really not understanding that it is as important how you present online as to how it is physically.
Good on you, girl. Yeah, and I put it out to the universe. This is one of the reasons that I do it. Because I'm ready to take the phone call, and yes, absolutely, we can meet now. I'll see you soon. I'll see you in half an hour's time. Let's go for a coffee. So never have to worry about readiness, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Can I just very quickly, as we start wrapping up, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Can I ask you 3 very quick personal questions just from me, just be a bit self? So I love the Mark Zuckerberg thing where he just wears a grey T-shirt, right?
Yes.
Because he says he doesn't want to make too many decisions, which I think is smart.
Yeah.
I think there's one of the American presidents, I think, is exactly the same. I only ever have white work shirts. Someone told me one time that it looked professional and that you can colour it any way you want with ties and different things. Is white a good colour, I guess, in very general terms? It's sort of, or should you? Like, I know you'll say it's up to me personally. I guess I just generally, is white a good colour? Because I only own white work shirts. In my work.
Look, and you're going to hate me for saying this, but there are so many different whites out there. There's different temperatures of white. There's warm whites, there's cool whites. Then if you introduce a pattern into the fabric, then that changes it all up again. So
too much, girl, too much. Is it?
But, you know, look, white is a traditional business shirt.
Traditional. Okay? Right.
But, you know, there's nothing wrong with you going into a check shirt with a pattern top.
That's true.
So there's variations that you can think about adopting where you can still put a tie on if you like, or you might want to change it up and have a check shirt and a blazer on or something. It's still very acceptable, and it's still that smart or business casual type look. So it all, again, gets back, Anton, to what's your personal brand, what's the message you're putting out there, and if your thing is a white shirt and a coloured tie, then go with it.
Rock it. Thank you. No, great answer.
I love the green on the glasses though. Hey.
Oh, only green girl. I've got glasses all around the house, and I only buy them if they're green. That's just, I don't know. I'm a bit wanky like that. My green pan and green book. I like.
My daughter's in a green team this week. She's at a camp for disadvantaged children. She's doing a degree in counselling, and she said, "Mum, I'm in the green team." So I was Googling all these photos of go green this morning.
Love green. Now, very quickly, Jane, can I ask you something? And this is a weird. Sorry, Julie. And I love the name Julie. Did I tell you I've been married to a Julie since 1994? 25 years ago. God.
See, we're special people, us Julies.
Oh, very special people, Julie. Very special people. I love her very much. She's just gone for a ride, actually. Hey, I'm a biggie into names and branding and logo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. I just feel like in my mind, I want people to, like, how people don't remember names? Like, I'm okay with people.
Oh, yes, I'm one of them. I don't know if it's an age thing, but yeah, I'm terrible at remembering
in your
names.
20s, you should be all right, Julie. You've been so young in your 20s.
You're too kind.
And so I often see people look down, to remember that, and that's cool. I'm really good with that. It's a bit out of the ordinary to wear a business shirt with your name on it. It's just important to me.
Okay. Going into the whole corporate uniform type thing, where people will have their name on their shirt, they'll have the corporate logo, things like that. It's an identity thing. And for some people that are meeting lots of different people every day, and it's fine. It does help people remember who you are. It's not a big deal. In corporate sense, would you want your name on your shirt personally?
Yeah. Everyone in our business, we put their name on their shirts. If when I go to businesses, because I speak to many, many people, and it's so much easier for me when they've got their names on their shirts, because corporates don't. Whereas I speak to a lot of industry people as well. Whereas in the high vis, they do, most of them.
Yeah,
it's so much easier when you can.
Name recognition, brand recognition, all of those things, it helps in business. And I think, if it helps you and it makes you feel more comfortable by having your name on, your shirt so that people can actually address you by name, then go with it. It's again, the decision for you.
So I'm not doing too much wrong yet from what I can gather, which is a good.
No, it's not. It's not that hard, like understanding this is not that hard. It's just when you get into the nitty-gritties, breaking it all down, that's when, a little bit of help sometimes can, help you. Okay, I didn't understand that. I didn't realise it's so intricate and there's so many different components to this whole thing. It's not just about throwing on some clothes in the morning and thinking you're okay.
What's my intent today with my dress? I love that.
Yeah, what's your intention? What's your objective today? Yeah.
I love that. What's my intention? And the last one, just very, very quickly, is I always say look good, feel good, and do good. I think it's about how you feel in your clothes too, more than anything. Like if you feel like you're comfortable, I think it's more than comfortable. If you feel, I like that word, appropriately dressed, I think it makes such a big difference.
Well, it is about feeling comfortable. And I think if there was one word, and confident, I think if there's one word that I can pull up that all of my clients actually talk to me about, it's a feeling of confidence. It's feeling and knowing that they look really good. They're not looking out of kilter. They're not looking too old. They're not looking too young. They're not looking too daggy. You know, it's all
Is that still a word?
It is still a word. Frumpy,
It's
daggy.
frumpy.
You know.
Frumpy.
And these are words that women relate to, okay?
Right.
Because we go through physiological changes at a certain time of our life. All of a sudden, nothing seems to work.
Right, okay.
You know,
Okay.
and it just makes women feel out of control.
Okay.
And they're dead and not in sync, not in tune with who they are as a person. So it's all about, you know, accepting where you're at and being able to then embrace the new version of you, one which is going to present you in the best possible light and help you look and feel confident and amazing, but also be comfortable. Because let's face it, Anton, you would know this, you cannot deliver your message if you're feeling uncomfortable about who you are as a person and how you know you look. You just can't.
Agree totally, Julie. Julie, you are the absolute bomb. Thank you so much. So where can people get hold of you, Julie? What's the best way to contact you?
I think LinkedIn's probably the best forum. Yes, I've got a website.
Contact us through LinkedIn, Julie Hyne.
LinkedIn's probably the best.
Beauty.
You know, reach out, send me a message, connect with me. Absolutely.
Good on you, Julie. Listen, huge gratitude today. Thank you so much for your help. We've now got a bit of content.
You're very welcome.
And I'll shoot this.
We have.
I'll shoot this off to you, and I'll put a podcast up on my website hopefully today. So it's still recording away nicely. So, and I hope some of my male buddies out there and female buddies, of course, it's just that I suppose I'm male, so I want to help those dudes. And
I think if anything, it's you know, if it gives them food for thought, you know, it's been a space that they've sort of, you know, just sort of, oh, it's not really, you know, it's not for me, it's not important, I can show up however I want to show up, it doesn't matter, it's not up to, you know, it shouldn't matter. Just think again about whether it could matter.
It does. Well, we all know it does matter because you only get that, what is it, half a second to make a first impression?
Well, they say now it's down to almost 300ths of a second.
I know, I've heard you say that.
Pretty amazing, isn't it?
300ths of a second. That is insane.
Yeah. It used to be 7 seconds. They said, you know, it takes 7 seconds. 7 seconds is actually a long time.
Oh, I know.
If you time 7 seconds, that's a long time.
That's great.
So work in such a fast-paced environment now, a fast-paced world, right? Boom, boom, boom. How many decisions do we make in a day? You should know this.
10,000.
Yeah, 10,000, probably more. We make in a day without even thinking
about
1 second, you know, what our mind is doing. So it's the same and I'll challenge you now, okay, when you go down the street later today, if you go down the street or somewhere outside of your office, I'll challenge you that you will be looking at people and you'll actually be formulating opinions in your mind straight away in terms of who they are, where they work, how much they earn, what background they come from, who they are culturally. You know, you'll be just making these decisions without even thinking about it. You'll be making those decisions. But when you consciously stop yourself and think, oh my goodness, I'm being very judgmental here. But we do.
Gee, I'm an arsehole.
We are. It's just what happens. We're human beings and that's what happens.
Wow. And isn't it good to know that though? And it's okay to accept that not only are we judging, other people are judging us too.
Yes,
so therefore,
absolutely.
This is important to actually, you know, to get right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Just very, very quickly, and I know this probably, I don't know whether this fits, how this fits with you or how this sits with you. There's one article of clothing that I go into St. Vinny's looking specifically for, believe it or not, ties. I've got some of my deadliest deadly. There's a word for it, deadly. Yeah. My deadliest ties.
I call them heroes and villains.
Heroes and villains. What do you mean by that?
They're ones that are our heroes. The same with, you know, a woman might have a jacket or a garment or something in her wardrobe. One's a hero. Every time she puts it on, it's a hero.
That's
You know,
right.
it elevates her to a position of strength and, you know, everything else. And then she'll have villains, things that they put on it really, you know, what were you thinking? You should not be wearing that. Absolutely does the worst thing possible for you. So it's the same with ties. You will have, you know, thicker ties, thinner ties, ones that are, you know, different fabrics, different colours, different patterns, and some are going to look amazing and really, you know, craft a message which can be quite pertinent and direct, others which will be a real distraction, Anton. So you'll have to think about, you know, is it making the right distraction, or is it just really taking everyone's mind into a whole different place?
I like it. I like that, Julie. What are people thinking based on the tie you wear? There's one that I'm thinking of particularly. It's and it gets a comment every single time I wear it, bar none, which is crazy. And people regularly ask, "Geez, where'd you get your tie, Vinnie's? 50 cents? Really? Really?" You know, and you sort of, it's a real hero, this one. I think. Maybe.
Well, you know, and that is the essence of styling, Anton, that not everything you wear has to be, you know, designer or super expensive. It's about knowing how to pull together from all different angles and create a style which is, you know, very distinct and aligned with who you are as a person. So that's, again, it's another conversation, and it's where a lot of people get stuck and a lot of women get stuck, is because they don't know how to do this. You know, they think they can just go out and put on a designer brand and they're instantly elevated to that.
Right.
Thing you're not recognising is that brand is instantly recognisable on every other woman that wears it. It's not they're not creating their own unique style. So it's all about knowing how to mix it up and how to use different elements.
And even if you go a step further, it's how it sits on you too. Like,
yes, well, that gets back to the whole, you know, body shape.
Body shape, that appropriateness, right?
Height, weight, shape, you know, proportion, all of that thing. You know, where to place colour on the body to look slimmer, look taller, look, you know, have more presence.
Hide your man boobs.
Something like that.
Sorry, inappropriate. And I finally found Oxford. Have you heard of the Oxford brand?
Yes. Yes, been around for ages.
I know. I've just discovered how good they are. And then finally they're a shirt that fits my body shape. And I must have short arms because I've got to fold all of my sleeves over to actually make my clothes fit.
Oh, Anton, you have to get them taken up. Please, please don't make that mistake.
Don't do that. Is that
do you know how many men I have counselled on this and said, for goodness sake, will you go and get your trousers taken up so they sit at the right place, get your jackets taken up so they sit at the right place, and if your shirt sleeves are too long, go and have them taken up professionally. Don't just fold them back.
Oh, okay.
It's all those little things which make a difference between you looking great and looking average.
Oh, thank you so much. So, see, there's the gift of feedback. Thank you. And that's the opportunity to improve.
And it's the same with women when it comes to the length of jackets they wear and hemlines. Sometimes just taking up the length of a jacket just that much can make the difference between them looking sensational based on proportion, right? Height and proportion. So it's just having an eye and just knowing where things are meant to be.
Julie Hyne, you are an absolute champion. You're a master at this, and thank you so much for your time today. It's really appreciated.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Thank you so much. And we've got some great content, and I hope that we can point some people towards your business and you can add some value for them and get them into those.
Yeah, well, I love what you do too, and, you know, everything, you know, that you do outside of business and your passion for, you know, just excelling and being exceptional at what you do and demonstrating to people how, you know, it takes grit, and it takes commitment and determination to do a lot of things. And you're bringing all of that into your business, which is fabulous.
Thanks, Julie. I appreciate it.
Happy pulse. Yeah.
Thank you, girl. All right. Thanks, Julie. We'll be in touch with some content.
Okay, cool.
Thanks
Have a great day.
Be good.